have discussion on this, Mike?
I'm not gonna answer any questions, Steve.
I'll take that as a yes. We've got a couple of questions for sure. You kind of hit around, but you didn't say, what was the May 17th press release?
What now?
What was the May 17th press release?
May 17th press.
In your notes? You referenced it 3 times.
I didn't say May.
You
Well,
said
there's
May
press
17th
release.
press
Yeah,
release.
there are press releases.
Right, what was that one in regards to?
The ones that I'm talking about are the ones that maybe I had the wrong date, but the ones that I was talking about were the ones that were about the charges, the complaints.
Well, you
Now,
said
there was a later one, I think, that was on your kid, maybe.
Which
But
one?
maybe I got those dates mixed up, but I'm
It
sorry.
was May 17th, that's what I was asking. And then the yelling in the council room, the blowing, what was that? You hear me?
Yeah, the yelling,
Yeah, you said the yelling in the council room and the blowing. What was
Yeah.
that about?
that was about Mr. Kakao,
On May 21st?
May 21st.
Okay,
And there was a subsequent one on that.
okay. Mr. Dixon, during our regular session, our meeting last week in the open session, I asked you a direct question. If you had any conversations with any previous city employees, and if you had discussed with them getting their job back with the city, you looked me right in the eye and you said no. I said, are you sure? You said no. And we got a video recording of it, so it's there. And right now, Mike, I have in my possession a signed, notarized, sworn statement for a previous employee where in fact you did contact this individual and at least 2 others in an attempt to get information against Adam and Katie. That's this sworn statement. Mr. Dixon, you are the city attorney. The city of Hewitt is your client. You lied to me in a public meeting.
I did not lie to you, mister.
I'm not done. You lied to this council. You lied to these citizens and the employees here tonight.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm not done.
Well, you
Yeah, I'm
are
not done.
done.
No, sir.
I'll let myself be slandered.
I'll give this to the media and they can have it themselves.
Okay, and then I will give them the actual
That's fine.
text messages and.
I have your text messages too.
Steve, please,
He's engaged.
that's
sir.
enough.
That's
No,
enough.
you are, you're engaging. We're out of line, we're out of line.
Well, I'll just add it to the other stuff that you put in your defamatory column this week, so.
I'm not defaming you. I'm responding to what you did.
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
let's depose James Black as soon as possible.
Well, that's his statement. It was January
Okay,
19th.
well, let's depose him as soon as possible.
Or
Let's do it.
January the 11th. Good.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a statement I'd like to read about this report. It's my understanding that the intention of the report was to review the employee complaints filed with the city, the process and history leading up to those complaints being filed, the legal analysis of such complaints, and to highlight organizational concerns. These tasks individually, and even more so, the impact and relevance they have on each other is an enormous web to untangle and present with full transparency. I believe it's imperative that we evaluate the information needed to begin to repair our deteriorating city culture and environment. And we do that professionally, openly, honestly, and without emotional influence. For example, it's offensive, and I was disappointed to see the term live-in girlfriend used in this report with reference to one of these parties involved. It's unprofessional at the very least, and it can be perceived as gender bias. Why was the term live-in boyfriend not used when referring to the other party involved? Neither of those terms is professional and add no pertinent information to the report. It's also important for all parties involved to accept whatever responsibility they have in this. What amounts to personnel policy issues that led to a flawed management strategy in an atmosphere of disparaging, demeaning, intimidating, and retaliatory behavior on the part of some council members. While the report highlights many issues with personnel that demonstrate the development of an untenable management strategy, that did not lend itself to a typical workplace environment. There is also incomplete information, speculative statements made to explain these occurrences and actions presented in the report. A workplace relationship between a boss and directly subordinate employee would not be a practice acceptable in corporate America. Upon being made aware of the situation, the council was the only party that had any power to resolve that situation. They could have given the parties an ultimatum to correct the problem by one of the parties leaving their position in a given time frame. Furthermore, if the occurrence of this relationship and its associated actions were in direct violation of personnel policies, of ethics, misconduct, and dishonesty, was there not a justified reason for you to remedy that situation? The failure to do that not only approved the relationship via inaction, and an affidavit was issued. The responsibility for that misstep to remedy that personnel issue leading to this situation rests exclusively with the 7 members of this council who were seated at that time. As to the complaints filed against the mayor and other previous or current council members, the personnel issues highlighted in this report do not negate or justify the discriminating, disparaging, intimidating, and retaliatory actions of the accused members. While some of the incidents noted in the report may have been considered perceived, there are incidents that were not just perceived. In fact, there are incidents that I witnessed. I spoke with our former city manager on 2 separate occasions beginning in April of last year about what I observed on multiple occasions in workshops I had been attending. I followed that with a detailed email of specific incidents in May of 2018 prior to the complaints being filed. The behavior I observed on multiple occasions was demeaning, hostile, and intimidating. It was clear that the behavior was directed at certain women on the staff, and I never observed even remotely similar behavior towards men on the staff while attending these meetings for almost 2 years. The fact that our mayor and certain council members were forwarding a disparaging email referring to a woman's vagina and the temperamental nature of women, stating this is funny but true, is telling of the opinion of women by these individuals. Had the council concluded that the relationship that had been allowed to continue between the 2 city personnel become an issue, they should have taken action to remedy the situation. Their lack of action in this regard that may have led to increasing frustration with the situation at hand and any associated policy violations does not justify or absolve the offensive behavior on the part of the council members involved. Furthermore, there's no justifiable reason for the demeaning, discriminating, intimidating, and retaliatory treatment of anyone, male or female. In my opinion, to begin to reconcile and rebuild, we must acknowledge several things. During his tenure with this city, our former city manager did a countless number of great things for the city, as evident in the positive changes and amenities we have enjoyed over his tenure with the city. Additionally, this is evident in his yearly evaluations by the council, rating him as exceeding expectations. The issues with personnel that were not remedied by the council allowed for the development of an untenable management strategy. This creates undue stress and insecurity with our current employees and needs to be resolved immediately to mitigate any additional loss of experience or expertise for the city. The personnel issue, while not an acceptable policy in any workplace, does not justify or excuse the demeaning, disparaging, intimidating, and retaliatory behavior of the mayor and some council members towards women on the city staff. This should not be tolerated in any environment, and the lack of action in this regard is perceived as acceptance and approval of such behavior.
Can I address one thing, ma'am?
Absolutely.
Is, the council did apparently request whether this was a violation. And we're told that there wasn't anything wrong with it. That Adam, as the city manager, had the authority to have this situation. There was no specific policies that prevented it. And so the next thing that was asked is why, and well, how can we protect once this thing goes sour? And that's when the affidavit thing came up. But before that, they were told, well, anything wrong with it?
They are the governing body here. They could have made a decision to stop that. Who else would have made that decision?
Apparently, they received legal counsel otherwise.
I didn't see any proof of that in your report.
Well, I didn't know that I had, so, well.
I understand that this situation is
It's
something
it's
where.
like entangled everything.
Absolutely, and I said that, didn't I? I said that, right, in my statement. And doing that with full transparency is something that's very difficult. However, if there are things that are important to making a reasonable judgment on this, I think they should have been included. If you want me to draw the conclusion that the legal counsel that they had previously did not give them sound advice, then I need to see those facts. That's kind of how I operate.
Well, I believe I actually had the city attorney here, and, when Julia's changes, she didn't want to be so mean, so it was represented that the personal relationship with a direct subordinate did not violate the city's personnel policies. This was misinformation. Did violate blah, 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 blah. So, sorry, it didn't say like I did identified, but he was less of a fan of identifying other attorneys. And I'm not really a fan of it, but it's getting to be a necessity, I guess.
Anybody else want to comment? No, we'll go on to number 3. Citizen comments. First one is Mike Ben Kelly.